Friends, let's create a learning as an enjoyable thing. Today we will learn about semiconductors. So most of the children I met, and even in NEET examination and 10th standard and most of the board examination, most of the questions are based on semiconductors. So how these semiconductors are formed, what are these semiconductor, how we can use this semiconductor. So all these things today I will tell you. We can make this video very enjoyable and you can learn it very easily. Most of the people are confused regarding semiconductor, and in the NEET examination, most of the questions which are coming from semiconductor based, most of them will leave it or they are confused regarding that. So today we will understand clearly about semiconductor. So it will be for the NEET examination and also for 10th standard and whatever the competitive exam is there. So let's understand what's a semiconductor. So all of us know that there is we are living in a modern world, and here electricity is coming, and all our devices, whether it may be about TV or whether it may be any gadgets, your fan, your electric bulbs, so how these are glowing. So we have a material which is called as conductor. So this conductor carries electricity. So we know that the pure form of electric conductor are copper, aluminium, even you can tell gold. All these are the pure form of conductors which carry current from one place to other place. So we use manually, we use copper or aluminium as a conductor for our transmission line, and also for house wiring and for industrial wiring. So these are the pure form of conductors. Now we also use insulators for covering these conductors so that we can prevent from electric shocks and all. So for insulator we are using bakelite for switches and all, to cover the switches and all, and also we are using some insulation tape and plastics to wrap the conductor and all. So we know about conductor and insulator. So let's understand what is semiconductor. Semiconductor are the material which conducts partially. Neither it conducts totally, neither it opposes the flow of electric current, means totally insulation. No, it is not like that. It is conducting partially. So the name called as semiconductor. Now where these semiconductor, so actually children are confused, where these semiconductors are formed. So these semiconductor, the meaning of semiconductor which can conduct partially. So actually we find this semiconductor, the pure form of semiconductor is actually found in some rocks, granites, some sand particles near the ocean, or even in the mining of stones we can find these silicon particles. So these are the pure form of semiconductors, silicon. If you walk nearby ocean, so sand crystals you will find in that silicon is present. So in some big rocks while mining, in that also silicon particles are present. In the same way, germanium is also present in some of the germanium. When we are mining and all, some particles we can find this germanium crystal or semiconductor. So these are available in nature as sand particles, sandstone, all these. For example, if you will take this stone, I'm nearby a mining. So these all stones. So you can see this big rock. Mining is been done. So these all rock contains some particles of germanium or silicon. It is containing. or even in the sand particles it is present. So this pure form of silicon or germanium found in the nature is called as pure semiconductor, and the name given to the pure semiconductor is called as intrinsic semiconductor. So the pure form of semiconductor found in the nature is called as intrinsic semiconductor. So this you have to remember. So what is that? The pure form of semiconductor formed in the nature is called intrinsic semiconductor. The question may come, what is a pure form of semiconductor called? So intrinsic semiconductor is the name given for pure form of semiconductor. So example of that is silicon and germanium. All these are tetravalent, means the outermost orbit of these contains 4 electrons. So these semiconductor, why they are used? So you have seen all the electronic devices, how these electronic devices run. A conductor conducts electricity, but for making electronic components such as diode, transistor, your microprocessor, your chip, all these are made from semiconductors. Your ICs, integrated circuits, are also made from semiconductors. So the invention of semiconductor made a very advancement in technology in hardware industries, so that we can manufacture mobile, TV, and all these electronic gadgets came into existence as soon as we invented semiconductor. So your components, diode, transistor, ICs, chip, all these contains are made from semiconductors. So these semiconductor, in the pure form, their conduction is not much. So in order to make a component, whether it may be diode, whether it may be your transistor, ICs, chips, or gates, logic gates, we can further study about logic gates also. So to make this, we needed some impurity to be added to this pure form of semiconductors. So this pure form of semiconductor was silicon and germanium. So to this pure form of silicon and germanium, if we add a impurity such as to enhance its conductivity, we can make 2 types of semiconductor by adding some impurity to either silicon or a germanium crystal. So if we add, either we can add a tetravalent impurity or a pentavalent impurity. Whether you can, if you add tetravalent impurity, or we can add pentavalent impurity. So tetravalent impurity, if you add tetravalent impurity, p-type semiconductor is formed if you add tetravalent impurity. So if there is a silicon crystal and there is a germanium crystal, if we add a tetravalent impurity, so this tetravalent material which is having trivalent electrons in its outermost orbit is called as tetravalent impurity. So if we add this tetravalent impurity, the semiconductor which is formed is p-type. So this tetravalent impurity, example of this tetravalent impurity is boron and aluminum. So if you add boron and aluminum, a tetravalent impurity, to pure form of semiconductor, so the semiconductor which is formed is p-type semiconductor. And in p-type semiconductor, the majority carrier are holes. And if we add a pentavalent impurity to pure form of semiconductor, either silicon or germanium, the pentavalent may be, example of pentavalent is arsenic and antimony. If you add arsenic or antimony to pure form of germanium or silicon crystal, then a semiconductor which is called as N-type semiconductor. So either by adding trivalent impurity or by adding pentavalent impurity, we can make eccentric semiconductor, for example N-type and P-type. If we add trivalent impurity, we get P-type. If we add pentavalent impurity, we get a semiconductor called N-type. So now let us understand what is this P-type and what is this N-type. So P-type, in P-type we are adding boron or aluminum to silicon or germanium crystal. So you know that the outermost orbit of a germanium or silicon crystal contains 4 valent electrons. When you add a trivalent impurity, so the outermost orbit of silicon or germanium crystal contains 4 electrons. Now when you add a trivalent impurity to it, so 4 electrons will share equal with the 3 electrons of the impurity which is added, boron or aluminum. And so what will happen, there will be a one gap because there is no sharing. So that gap is called as holes. So this gap which is created due to non-sharing, one extra gap is remaining because we added trivalent impurity. All the 3, because it was containing 4 electrons, all the 3 started to share, but one gap was remaining. So that gap is called as holes, and the majority carrier here are holes. So we get a P-type semiconductor by adding trivalent impurity, and here the majority carrier, the carrier which which allows the current to flow, are holes, and holes we give it as a name as positive charge. Holes have the charge called positivity. So here holes are the majority carrier, hence the name P-type semiconductor. In a P-type semiconductor, the majority carrier are holes. So we have to understand, if the question comes, the majority carrier in P-type semiconductor are what? So in P-type semiconductor, the majority carrier are holes. Now let's understand how N-type semiconductor is formed. So if we add pentavalent impurity, arsenic or antimony, so what will happen to a pure form of silicon or germanium? Pentavalent impurity is added, and we have in silicon and germanium tetravalent, means 4 electrons. All the 4 electrons of antimony or arsenic will share with each other. 4 electrons of this antimony or arsenic and the 4 electron of silicon and germanium crystal starts to share. So they are sharing like this. So these four, they are sharing. Now because we have added pentavalent impurity, so what will happen? This 4 will share and 1 remains. Because we have added pentavalent impurity and this silicon or germanium crystal are 4, this 4 will share, 1 is remaining. So 1 electrons remains. So these electrons are the majority carrier in N-type semiconductor, and here the majority carrier are electrons. So 1 electron which was remaining in this, when we add pentavalent impurity to pure form of silicon or germanium, electrons are the majority carrier. So today we have understood that what is the pure form of semiconductor. In the nature, in sand particles, even when we walk nearby ocean, the sand particles, or in a mining area, these stones and all contains a pure form of semiconductor, that is intrinsic semiconductor, a crystal of silicon or even a germanium. So these are the pure form of semiconductor. So the question may come, what are the pure form of semiconductor? The pure form of semiconductor are nothing but a pure silicon or a germanium crystal which is found in the nature. Now when we add impurity to it to enhance its conductivity, that is called as doping, or adding impurity to it is such as trivalent or pentavalent, and if we add trivalent impurity, p-type semiconductor is called formed and majority carrier are holes. And when we add pentavalent impurity, n-type semiconductor is formed and the majority carrier are electrons here. Once these are formed, so we got p-type n-type semiconductor by adding pentavalent and trivalent impurity. Once we get this, we can create our components like ICs, chips, transistor, diodes. When we do electronically p-type semiconductor with n-type semiconductor, component which is formed is called as diode. And when we do n-type, p-type, PNP, means if you mix this PNP, then a component which is formed is called as transistor, a three-legged PNP transistor and also NPN transistor. So we can also manufacturing our gates, your AND gate, OR gate, NOR gate, XOR gate, XNOR gate, NOT gate. So these gates are present in your ICs and even in microprocessor in order to have a logic performance. So your computer performs a logic functions, so we need gates, and these gates are also made through semiconductors. So we have different types of gates: AND gate, OR gate, NOR gate, XOR gate, NOT gate. So all these gates are formed through integrated circuit, inside the integrated circuits or ICs and chips, through these semiconductors and all. And so most of the questions are coming from semiconductor, friends. So I have cleared you about semiconductor. There should be no confusion. In future videos we can learn about these gates, how these logic gates perform and how they are made and how it is used. So all your electronic devices, whether it may be computer, whether it may be your TV, whether it may be your mobile or any of the tablet, any of the electronic device, all these devices consist of a component called semiconductors. Either it may be containing chip, ICs, microprocessors, and diodes, transistor, and all. So the invention of semiconductors gave a boom in the electronic industry, in the manufacturing of electronic goods and gadgets. So friends, this was the video to make you understand a easy method by to learn is to enjoy and learn. And if you have curiosity about that, total curiosity to learn about electronics, or any of your talent, anything which you learn from your inside, there is no need to sit in front of textbook and learn it. So the thing is, your desire to learn that, or desire to know the knowledge, because this universe consists of total knowledge. So once the desire comes, there is no need to catch textbook and learn. Everything comes from the learning. You have to enjoy and learn. Don't make study as a burden over your head. Life is to enjoy, and learning what you are studying in colleges and schools and all, that is to enhance your life, to give a good focus and enjoy your life. Don't make life a burden by putting a lot of pressure over your head. Life is to enjoy, and whatever the education you are getting is to enhance your existence on this planet Earth. Don't make anything as a burden in your life, whether it may be education. So everybody is having internal talent and all. See what is your talent. It may be physics, it may be chemistry, it may be electronics, it may be dance, it may be music, or anything. So it should come from your heart. A real skill will make you to move forward. So my dear friends, this was a video regarding electronics and learning about semiconductors. We will be back with some more knowledgeable video regarding physics and other part also. So take care, have a nice day. Till then, goodbye.